I always told myself that when I had a baby, if I ever had a baby, that I would be married and I'd have a career and all that stuff. I wouldn't be in high school. I always planned that that would not happen to me.
Getting pregnant both of the times were not something that was planned. It just happened.
Even after I found out I was pregnant, I was still in denial. I kept telling myself I'm not pregnant. I can't be pregnant.
Okay, well, it happened once. You think to yourself it's not going to happen again. And then when it happened again, you find out you're in the same boat you were before.
My mom always told me not to follow in her footsteps, so that was always in the back of my head. I can't get pregnant because I don't want to be like my mother. When I told my mom, I really did not want to tell her. I really had to work up a lot of courage to tell her. And when I walked down to the living room to tell her, she was actually looking at my baby pictures. So I sat down and I just started crying, and she came over and she asked me what was wrong. I told her I have something to tell you, and before I could even get it out of my mouth, she said, "You're pregnant." So she knew before I could even tell her. I didn't even realize that a baby would be that much, like changing diapers, not sleeping. That never comes to your head. It is a lot harder than I imagined, because at first when I found out I was pregnant, I didn't think that she was going to have complications. I thought I'd just have a baby. Just a baby. My first ultrasound, they found that there was something wrong. They came back and they told me, it turns out that her intestines were on the outside of her body. So they had to plan a C-section. I had to go to a lot of doctor's appointments. I didn't have enough fluid, so there was always complications. I had to take vitamins, steroids, all that stuff. And she was born 5 weeks early at St. Luke's Hospital, and I thought she was just going to stay there for a couple of weeks. They would do the surgery, and she would come home. But it turned out there was more problems. She didn't really have shoulders. She couldn't bend her arms, her fingers don't move. When she was a week old, they did a surgery because her intestines were on the outside. So they put that back in, and in order for her to go to the bathroom, because there was no connection, they had to pull a part of the intestine out on the side, and that's where she goes to the bathroom. She might not ever crawl because she can't move her arms. Because she didn't start eating until she was 2 months old, she was kind of behind. So she would suck on a pacifier, but she didn't understand that she had to suck, swallow, and breathe. So she would spit everything back up, or she just wouldn't eat at all. So in order for her to get her nutrition and get her off of the IVs, because she couldn't come home with that, they had to give her a feeding tube. The feeding pump, you set that up every night. You put it on about 8 o'clock, and it runs about till 10 o'clock the next day, or whenever I take her off. It starts beeping if something gets clogged. With her, because of the problems with her arms, I'm scared that when she gets older, the kids are gonna make fun of her. Like, still, when I sit there and playing with her, I cry. Like, what if when she's older she gets made fun of just because something that she had no control over? When they told me about her complications, all that went through my head was, it's not fair, why me? I've always been a good student, I've stayed home, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything, and this is happening to my baby. I blamed everything on myself. wake up around 5 to 5:30 every morning. It is hard to get up in the morning, but the longer I wait, the longer it's going to take, and nobody's going to drive me to school every morning. I can't stay home every day. I'm always tired. It's always hard to stay awake. I'm always tired. I get to school, I'm pretty tired. Most of my classes, I almost fall asleep, but I try to keep myself awake, pay attention. I get pretty good grades, but it's hard to try to get everything done at school, because when I bring homework home, I don't get it done, so I have to get it all done during class or study halls during lunch.
We left off with Roman numeral number 3, challenges of adolescence.
I've always been a good student. In the beginning of the year, I was an honor student, but now that the baby is home, it's kind of hard to keep my grades up. I've always had black bags under my eyes. I think they're there for the rest of my life. Most of the time I don't go to lunch, go to the library and finish my work. The hardest part about being a student with a baby is that there's not enough time for anything. Teachers will tell you after school you can work with a group. You can't do that. You can't bring your baby to someone else's house. You can't do any of that stuff. You have to do it all by yourself.
All over X. You might also see it like that as well. It means the exact same thing. All you're gonna do.
It doesn't matter how much work it takes or how much the baby keeps me back. I'm going to finish school because there's no way that I'm going to get anywhere without a high school education. You can't do anything without a diploma. You need to go to college too.
Power of the sun. Almost all power on earth from the sun.
Now, obviously you don't want the before. Yeah, well,
Hi, my name is Crystal. May I help you?
The crispy chicken sandwiches are 2 for $3. Would you like 2? I work every weekend from 6 to 2. I always show up for work. I'm always dependable because I don't want to get fired because where am I going to get money from? You have to buy diapers, medical supplies, and whatever else. If there's an emergency, you need money. 423. Thank you. Through the 6 months that she was in the hospital, everything was taken care of there. She needed medical supplies. It was all there. Didn't have to worry about ordering them. Didn't have to worry about all of that because everything was available there. But when she comes home, you have to get prescriptions, you have to get referrals, you have to order everything on your own. And no one has enough money to pay for all her medical supplies.
Keystone ended their service. You went down to Philadelphia to take your daughter to the hospital.
I know about with referrals for like special doctors like an orthopedist
Right.
and stuff like that, but I didn't know that I would have to get a referral to go to St. Christopher's where she lived at for the first 6 months of my
Right.
life. I
And
thought
now
that
you
would
know.
be insurance. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. It takes 5 days for a referral, but they should tell me that stuff before they tell me that I needed a referral.
If you look at the big picture and all that has to happen, it's overwhelming and stressful and you lose hope, okay? You can't afford to do that. Just do the little patch that you got right in front of you. Okay. Now what about Carlos and him saying it's all about the money? I think he's feeling guilty because he's not paying child support. Aren't you disappointed in his lack of involvement, his lack of interest? You tell him how ticked off you are?
No, I just don't. Sometimes I just don't talk. Like, I can't. Sometimes I just don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to be left alone. So sometimes I really can't talk it out with him because he says I get mad over nothing. And It's not nothing.
The bottom line is he's not being financially responsible, his share, even his share. And if it was you, your mom, and him, and he owed a third, he's not coming even up to speed with a third.
It's just now he has money and he wants to buy all this other stuff that's not on his mind anymore, like clothes and stuff like that. Like I buy clothes too, but you have to buy diapers and food first.
One thing that you could do to be more organized and maybe get more some satisfaction from him is write down the issues that really do need to be discussed, negotiated, and thought through.
Switches around words.
All right.
It doesn't matter if I write it down.
You need a
because
third
somebody
party.
else or what.
You need a third party.
And then he'll get mad because I'm telling somebody else everything that
No,
happened.
you're going to do it in front of the third party because part of the FDRP is a social worker who's a family therapist. And so when you meet Ed, okay, you make sure, because Carlos is the dad, that Carlos is there for that initial meeting. And you, at that meeting, have your list and say, okay, here are the issues that really need to be talked about. Financial support, emotional support, being there, physical time, caring for the, all right, you have your list. I'll help you make the list. But with Ed there, he's gonna form a bond with Carlos. He's gonna form a bond with you, and then he's gonna try to help you and teach you the negotiating skills. And that's what's gonna be really helpful. Because you need an advocate, and maybe Carlos does too. Maybe he's feeling like he's not being understood. Maybe he's
Because he hasn't had the responsibility. He doesn't see how he just has to start giving everything up.
right.
Because for 19 years he hasn't had to give anything now.
It's time to wake up. It's time to grow up.
Well, I used to go to the movies before the baby, go shopping, or whenever I wanted to, I could just leave, go walk somewhere, go to the park, go to the store, whatever. And now, if it's raining outside, I can't go anywhere because the baby would get sick. It's cold outside, can't take her anywhere because there's no car to take her anywhere. It's not that you regret it, but you're going to feel like you really weren't ready for that, and you wish you would have waited.
Some of my friends were in the same boat as me. Am I going to do things with my boyfriend, or am I just going to wait, a couple more years until I understand more and I'm more mature about everything? And it's peer pressure. A lot of times it does get to you. Other people will put things in your head and you're thinking, well, maybe I should do that, or maybe I should try this, and just think, well, okay, well, they're doing it, it's no big deal if you do it too. Yeah, it was a big deal to just think, okay, well, they're doing it and then it happened to them. Why did it happen to me? It's hard sometimes to think, okay, well, why didn't I just listen to myself and be like, that wasn't the thing to do at the time. Waking up in the morning is a hard thing to do because I'm so tired. It's every day, it's the same thing. You get frustrated a lot because of having both of them. I've learned now to do things more quickly. If you don't do what you want to do right away, you're never going to get it done. A lot of times I will clean up throughout the day over and over and over again. And if you clean up after he messes something up, he'll mess it up again. It's a lot of times you do get frustrated. It's really difficult to try to do schoolwork. My grades in school are, I'm gonna say, average grades. They're mostly C's. If I didn't have the kids, my grades would be a lot higher, I think.
On the left.
Having kids, yeah, it gives you less time to do everything. Like, your instincts would be feed them when they're hungry. But how you know they're hungry? They cry all the time. You don't know if they're hungry or if they need to be changed or if they're tired or they're sick. It's hard to understand. Sometimes I try to cook, and that's really hard. I'll have to prepare everything when I get home from school and have him either watching a video, and having her sitting in her chair and something will burn. If I make supper, I have to clean up and put it away and try to do the dishes. The end of the night, it's probably one of the most hardest times between me putting them to sleep and wanting to go to sleep myself. If I would do something, if I would turn on the TV, I almost always fall asleep watching it. Don't even know, I'll watch like a couple of minutes and not even know what happened. I'll just end up falling asleep. It was more difficult than I thought it was gonna be. When I was pregnant with Nathan, I did have a lot of friends. Back then I was, in 10th grade and I had close girlfriends and we did everything together. Went everywhere, to the mall, the movies, anywhere you can possibly think of, we probably went together. And they still talk to me now. But just things aren't the same. They got older, they have boyfriends, new friends, different things they like to do now, and it's not the same. When you have 2 kids and things you need to buy, you really don't have that much spending money to be going here and there and everywhere when things aren't, cheap. They're not cheap anymore, and you just don't have the money to go spend, so you normally don't go anywhere. If I go to the mall, you just basically walk around because you don't have the money to buy things that you need.
You must become a little child if you will enter the kingdom of God. You must become a little child if you will enter the kingdom of God.
When I baptize her, she's going to be able to be in church. You're really not supposed to have them in there and bring them up to the altar and they're not baptized. Like my grandmother would say, when she gets baptized, everything's going to be okay. If anything would happen, God's there to watch her, that nothing's going to happen to her.
The Holy Spirit.
I worry about if they're going to wake up in the morning. I usually go in and I check on them and make sure. If I don't fall asleep right away and I put them both to sleep, I make sure that they're both still breathing, or to just check on them because anything could happen at any time. I worry about if something happens, am I going to be able to take care of them on my own? It's really hard. If you sit there and say to yourself, well, yeah, I can do it, well, it's going to be easy, you need to think twice because it's not going to be something that is just going to come naturally, is just going to, pop in your head, well, yeah, I know what to do. Well, you might think you know, but you really don't know. Having kids actually is gonna probably make you older sooner than you want to be. Going to the prom, I'm gonna feel extremely happy. I'm gonna be glad that I'm with my friends again and I can be there, I can have a good time. I will feel a little bit guilty that I'm leaving my kids with my mom and my boyfriend's mom, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, this might be the last time I can do anything fun, go anywhere. It's just the big last thing, probably that and graduating would be the last big thing in your life. It is gonna be different and it's gonna be well, in the back of your mind, you still have responsibility. You still have, kids to think about and be okay, well, should I call and make sure that they're okay, or should I go the whole night just sitting there and just having a good time and being with other people? Is that what you want to do? Not think about them. I guarantee I'll probably call 100 times and make sure that they're okay. I don't know what's going to be ahead of me. I think about putting them through school and them getting their education The best thing that I want to do is to always be in their life and always make sure that they come and talk to me. I never talked to my mom about anything. Like, I stayed away from, like, my parents as much as I could when I was young, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I didn't want to hear what they had to say. I didn't want to listen to them. But I want to make sure that they come to me and they talk to me. I hope that they know not to be as young as I was and to do things that I did when I was young. To always stay in school. To never give up on what they want to do.